Mahendran tells Bond Commission, ask Prime Minister. Ministers Kabir Hashim and Malik Samaravikrama summoned before Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Litro Gas Chairman Shalila Munasinghe remanded over Taiwanese bank fraud. Court grants bail to Iresha De Silva, former director of Nama Rajapaksa's company. UNP proposals not included in the interim report on the constitution. Sri Lanka wraps up 2-0 series win over Pakistan.
Sri Lanka win. Their 6th series win versus Pakistan.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. We are starting off the bulletin with a look at the day's proceedings of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the bond issue. And with me I have Zulfiq Fazan, who's been following the proceedings of the inquiry. Good evening, Zulfiq.
Good evening, Shane.
Zulfiq, some interesting developments at the day's proceedings today. We have summons being issued with regards to these two gentlemen. Why these two gentlemen?
Well, Shane, Minister Kabir Hashim, General Secretary of the UNP, Minister Malik Samaravikrama, Chairman of the United National Party, have both been issued with summons to appear before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Now, the reason for these two gentlemen to be summoned before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry is because they were among those present with former Minister Ravi Karunanika, former Governor of the Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran, at a breakfast meeting on the 26th of February 2015. That's one day right before the first controversial auction took place at the Central Bank.
Zulfiq, a breakfast meeting is nothing unusual, but why is it so significant in this context?
Well, Shan, that's an interesting question because according to witnesses, including Arjuna Mahendran, that breakfast meeting is where the government, which is recently elected in 2015, had met at the Central Bank to discuss urgent funding requirements that they had found out on unpaid bills. So when these two gentlemen testify before the Commission tomorrow, we would exactly get to know what was the definite discussion that took place at the Central Bank on the 26th of February 2015 at that breakfast meeting.
All right, Zulfiq. Now, we also made reference to a statement that was made by the former governor of the Central Bank, Arjuna Mahendran, at today's proceedings in our highlights a short while ago, where he said something to the effect of, ask the Prime Minister. Now, what are the circumstances that led to the former governor to make this statement?
Well, Shane, it all started off when Senior Additional Solicitor General Dapula de Oliveira took extracts from the Prime Minister's statement, which was made on the 17th of March 2015. If I may quote the Prime Minister's statement, the Prime Minister says, I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and a lack of transparency. And he went on to quote certain malpractices or irregularities that had taken place in this private placement system. And he ends that statement by saying, these are what the primary dealers are saying. At that point, the Senior Additional Solicitor General questioned Arjuna Mahendran, do you know who these primary dealers are? And then Arjuna Mahendran said no. However, the Prime Minister would apparently know who these primary dealers are. And then the Senior Additional Solicitor General went on to take more extracts from the Prime Minister's statement and put to Arjuna Mahendran that in the Prime Minister's statement, the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, had exonerated Arjuna Mahendran of any wrongdoing in that statement in reference to the 27th of February 2015 bond auction. It is at that point Arjuna Mahendran said that he cannot make any comment on that, but you should ask the Prime Minister about that statement. And in addition, Arjuna Mahendran said that during the second week of March 2015, before the Prime Minister made the statement, he actually sent a report to the Prime Minister, and when he was questioned, did the Prime Minister respond to that? He said he would not know to comment on that. It's better to ask the Prime Minister. And that is how the statement, ask the Prime Minister, was said by Arjuna Mahendran to questions posed at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry by the Deputy Solicitor General Dapula de Oliveira. So let's now take a look at some of the other key highlights that took place during today's proceedings of Bondgate. Arjuna Mahendran went on to say he was not aware of the meeting in which the then Finance Minister Ravi Karunanika had instructed state banks to bid low at March 2016 auctions. He was not aware of central bank officials, including former Deputy Governor P. Samarasiri, were present at the meeting and said nobody told him anything of such a meeting. A phone recording was played earlier at the commission which showed Arjun Aloysius, the chairman of Perpetual Group, having knowledge that state banks would bid low at those auctions. The Attorney General's department said Arjun Aloysius, with the assistance of Ravi Karunanaike, fixed the auction on the 29th of March 2016. The AG's department claimed he was responsible for giving inside information to Arjun Aloysius, to which Mahendran said no. The Attorney General's department pointed out the 30-year bond in question did not trade in the markets after they ended up with the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, the EPF and the University Grants Commission Provident Fund. UNP MP and CORP member Hector Apuhami was present at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today for an interview with the officers from the Attorney General's department who are assisting the commission. The EPF dealer Saman Kumara had a questionable track record when it came to equities, and Justice Prasanna Jayawardena asked Mahendran was he not aware of the stock exchange scandal. Mahendran said the SEC conducted an investigation and did not get any evidence to indict Kumara, and thereafter he was transferred to the EPF. Justice Prasanna Jayawardena concluded today's proceedings saying a Roman emperor's wife should have been more careful.
The Bond Commission has now reached its final stage. Come end of this month, the tenure of this commission will end. During the past week, we constantly said that Ministers Malik Samaravikrama and Kabir Hashim should give evidence before the commission over this incident. Tomorrow, the Bond Commission will record evidence from the General Secretary of the ruling political party. Many say the chairman of this party, Malik Samaravikrama, is the most powerful minister in this government. We believe bringing this powerful minister before this commission to ascertain the truth is an important and decisive move. The next step would be to get the leader of the United National Party to appear before this commission and provide a statement, voluntarily or otherwise, which will enable to strengthen the investigative process. The central bank operated directly under the Prime Minister. It was under his recommendation that Arjun Mahendran came to Sri Lanka from Singapore to hold the position of governor.
Arjun Mahendran Mahatma Singapore indang Lankaවට ඇවිල්ලා මේ තනතුර දරලා.
And in more local news, a media briefing was held in Deundara today to oppose the appointment of a new United National Party organizer for Deundara following the removal of H.R. Vimalasiri from his post. Former UNP Pradeshia Sabha members of Devinuwara and Dikwella and polling booth activists were present for the media briefing.
The elections are just a month or two away. Appointing a new person to this position won't work because he does not know what the polling booths are, what roads are used to go canvassing, what work was done, or who was with the United National Party. This is why we are strongly against it.
At a time when the party is facing a difficult period and while we are preparing for an election by strengthening the rural level and creating a good batch of candidates for both Pradeshia Sabhas, certain decisions have been made based on the decisions of a few in the party. We asked the party leader to reinstate H.R. Vimalasiri as the electorate organizer until the election is over.
Chairman of Litrogas Lanka Limited, Shalila Munasinghe, who was arrested yesterday over an alleged fraud of $2.1 million from a Taiwanese bank, was placed under remand custody until tomorrow.
Munasinghe was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department and was produced before Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna this afternoon on charges of fraud and criminal misappropriation. Last evening, the CID had obtained a court order banning Munasinghe's overseas travel. He was arrested by the CID yesterday over his implications in a sum of $2.1 million being transferred from the Far Eastern International Bank in Taiwan to a private account of the Bank of Ceylon. Taiwanese authorities began investigating last week a hack of the Far Eastern International Bank through which $60 billion worth of funds was transferred to bank accounts in several countries, including Sri Lanka. Another individual by the name of J.C. Nammuni was arrested on Friday when he attempted to access funds transferred from the Far Eastern International Bank. The individual is believed to have withdrawn money on 2 occasions, with the first withdrawal amounting to 30 million rupees. Later, a sum of 50 million rupees had been transferred from the BOC account to a private bank account. Presenting facts to court, the Criminal Investigations Department said the 30 million rupees withdrawn on the first occasion had been taken to a room of a popular hotel in Colombo and divided among a group which included Shalila Munasinghe. It was revealed in court that 2 Indian nationals who had arrived to the hotel room had collected a share of 15 million rupees before leaving the country. CCTV footage obtained from the Bank of Ceylon shows Shalila Munasinghe at the location when the first withdrawal was being made. A sum of 6 million rupees was found in the possession of Munasinghe and Namuni, out of which 2 million was found in the possession of the Litro Gas chairman. When Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne questioned as to how Munasinghe acquired the 2 million rupees, his lawyers informed court that their client did not wish to make a statement in that regard. The Criminal Investigations Department informed court this incident brings dishonour to the country, as it is the second such scam to have occurred in the recent past, adding that this causes investors to have a bad impression on the country. The CID also informed court a team including Interpol and a group of officials of the Far Eastern International Bank in Taiwan are due to arrive in the island today to conduct investigations. Information has come to light that the scam was masterminded by an Indian national who goes by the alias Chokalia. Meanwhile, issuing a media release, Litro Gas Lanka Limited said it wishes to assure all of its stakeholders and the general public that the company had no connection to or knowledge of the alleged transaction that the chairman of the Litro Gas Lanka Limited, Mr. Shalila Munasinghe, has been implicated in. It adds, Litro Gas Lanka complies with a stringent regulatory framework expected of a business operation while adhering to a highly structured check and balance system of a corporate entity managed by a professional board of management.
Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, leader of the JVP MP Anurakumar Dissanayake spoke on the controversy surrounding the chairman of Litro Gas.
This government is now mainly targeting banks. The previous government was charged of stealing money and depositing them in overseas banks. But what this government is doing is that they rob overseas banks and bring the money here. There seems to be a link between the two. However, if you look at this from an international perspective, this could be considered as the largest financial fraud which has been committed through modern technology. There are 2 questions which crop up. The chairman of Litro Gas is a very close associate of Ravi Karunanayake. We asked the government who proposed his appointment as chairman of Litro Gas. The country has to know this. After such a large amount of money came into Sri Lankan banks, who was it that gave instructions to release this money without any inquiry? Moreover, this person is still the chairman of Litro Gas. He must be removed and an investigation must be launched.
Iresha De Silva, a director of Gowers Corporate Services Private Limited, said to be owned by MP Nama Rajapaksa, was arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport this morning upon her arrival from Abu Dhabi. She was later produced before the Colombo High Court and released on bail.
30-year-old Iresha De Silva is a defendant in a case filed against MP Nama Rajapaksa pertaining to an irregular financial transaction. Iresha De Silva had been living in Abu Dhabi, evading a warrant issued by the Colombo Magistrates Court. She arrived in the island after being deported from Abu Dhabi. Upon being produced before the Colombo High Court, Iresha De Silva was ordered by High Court Judge P.S. Singh to be released on a cash bail of 500,000 rupees and a surety of 5 million rupees. The case was also ordered to be taken up again on the 16th and the 20th of February next year. Cases have been filed under the Money Laundering Act and for 11 other charges against Batapula Arachige Unela Iresha Silva for alleged involvement in a financial transaction worth 30 million rupees between Gowers Corporate Services Private Limited, allegedly owned by MP Nama Rajapaksa and another company. She is the 5th defendant in the case. Sujani Bogol Lagama, Nidra Samaranayake and Sudarshan Bandara are the other defendants in the case.
Several people say she was arrested and brought down. Well, that was not the case. She came back at her own expense. We know we have not done anything wrong. We still have faith in the judiciary.
Former Minister Basil Rajapaksa was a topic of discussion at several media briefings today.
An abnormal election system was created in the country as a result of what Basil Rajapaksa did after the local government election in 2012. Ashok Piris, making submissions regarding the delimitation report, said that if he were to go for an election under the existing system, there will be a bloodbath. The delimitation was done back then at houses of electorate organizers who held power. The electorates that were unfavorable were converted into multiple seats.
Basil Rajapaksa has forgotten his conduct during the previous government. He goes to the Nallur Kovil in the north. He has remembered the gods. We are ready to reveal how you held the tail of all those ministries when you were the Minister of Economic Development. You thieved the Samruddhi money of the innocent people. Basil Rajapaksa had a particular interest to construct roads as well as the dairy farmers.
10% 30%.
He was not going for 10%, he went for 30%. How many investors had to turn back because of Basil Rajapaksa? As a result of the robbing done by Basil Rajapaksa, his brother Mahinda Rajapaksa was sent home by the people. When Mahinda was sent, what did he do? He packed all his bags and went to America. He's a citizen of Sri Lanka? No, he's a citizen of America. He was a person who suppressed the media to the maximum. His idea was to break every media organization that had a strong backbone.
විනාශ කරන එක තමයි බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂගේ තීන්දුවනේ. යකෝ එදා සිරසර තිබිච්ච frequency.
There is a history where the frequency that was reserved to Sirasa was also removed from them. What was theirs was taken from them. There was an incident where the channel was disturbed. There was an attack. There was destruction. All this was done during their time. Who is talking about this? Is he Sri Lankan? The person who left the country with all his bags packed, Basil Rajapaksa, is saying all of this. We ask him to stay in America. Do not come here. He is rejected by the family as well as the people.
The brother of Mahinda Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, comes to us and tells us in Jaffna that some people who are not from the military have committed crimes and that those should not be called war crimes. He has said the army seniors have committed the crimes. The allegations against Gotabaya has been accepted. We feel that they are trying to sacrifice even the family members and go ahead with this plan of the brothers. We will be happy if Basil can be careful of Gotabaya after making statements like this.
We were not afraid of Mahinda Rajapaksa. What makes you think we will be afraid of Basil Rajapaksa? A person who abandons the people is not a real leader. He is a betrayer. He committed the worst betrayal.
Basil Rajapaksa is a rogue. How will he rebuild the country? Whose money is he spending to muster support for himself? What did he do after the Divnamgunu Act was not passed by the court? He took it to Parliament for a 2/3 majority. Sent the CJ home. Mahinda Rajapaksa was destroyed by none other than Basil Rajapaksa.
Cartoonist Asanga Ladwahetty gives us his interpretation of tonight's illustrated news.
This afternoon, police used tear gas to disperse the protesters who gathered in Kolpiti to protest against Saitam.
The protest commenced from Town Hall, Colombo. Later, the protesters walked towards Kolpiti. However, the Fort Magistrate had issued an order prohibiting them from entering state institutions in the areas of Fort and Kolpiti, including the Presidential Secretariat. Police had barricaded the roads to stop the protesters. Police used tear gas to disperse the protesters once they reached the Kolpiti junction.
On Face the Nation last night, attorney at law Nagahananda Kurituaku questioned the motives behind the drive to change the constitution.
I can say this is an effort driven by, not by the Sri Lankan government, but by foreign force. This government, on the other hand, they do not have a mandate to bring forward any of such thing. For example, this Ranil Wickremesinghe's government, they do not have a mandate to, people in this country never ask for any of such thing, a new constitution. Who wanted it? What is the purpose of this new constitution they are going to, bring about? Even the Tamil minority people, they don't want any such constitution. Tamil politicians want it. What they want is a equal right and equal protection as a the citizens of this country. That is what the Tamil people wants. But the Tamil politicians, they want devolution. It's a fact. That's true. But not the general public.
Now my argument is basically, this is not the way you should proceed. The way I like, basically, like 1996, how South Africa adopted their constitution. Now, first thing, even the Prime Minister, all the ministers saying, this is not the final document. This can be adopted, this can be deleted, this can be changed. But I need, even like in Nepal, some fixed draft constitution. Now all the parties' proposals asked, where the United National Party proposals are not there. All the other parties, they have given their proposals. So consultative process, yes.
So you're pointing out to the fact that the interim report contains the observations of all political parties except that of the United National Party.
Yes.
And that's a concern you're raising.
That's my concern. Number two, this constitution, still we have not seen. The draft we have not seen. So the people basically started a debate. Unitary, priority to Buddhism. Those are the key areas. Now, the society is speaking. This is not the way you should done. Not to divide people like that.
A regional conference on reimagining women's empowerment in South Asia, pathways and policies to achieving gender equality was held today. The event was organized by the International Center for Ethnic Studies. Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs spoke on the barriers women face in the workplace and the parliament.
The conference was held under the auspices of Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Harsha De Silva.
So women's empowerment really is a catchphrase. You always talk about women's empowerment. Women need to be significant actors in change. Policy needs to address areas in which women need assistance to act with agency, where cultural barriers can be overcome through legal and state provisions. Particularly in the local government, provincial government, and I hope in parliament also. In some countries, the quotas are for, in the nomination list that you have to nominate 30% or 50% of women. But in our case, it is not just nomination, but it is actually election. So you have to have this number minimum represented in those bodies.
Newsfirst Sonali Vanuga spoke to the State Minister of City Planning and Water Supply, Sudarshini Fernanda Pulle, following the event.
Why is politics a bad word for especially women?
Because, it's not gender sensitive. Unless you have a lot of family support, it's very difficult for a woman to, manage or survive in this field. And also you need a lot of money. Because our previous electoral system, the PR system, saw that you need a lot of money. People who spent vast amounts of money were voted in.
In some sports news, Sri Lanka earned an emphatic 68-run victory over Pakistan in Dubai today to wrap up the series with a 2-0 win. Sri Lanka, who played their first ever day-night test, is the first team to have beaten Pakistan in a test series in the United Arab Emirates.
Out of 159 countries, Sri Lanka has ranked 94th in the Global Economic Freedom Index. Can Sri Lanka do better in economic freedom? Stay tuned to TV1 for an exclusive interview with Fred McMahon of the Fraser Institute on Economic Freedom in Sri Lanka.
We leave you tonight with the complete illustration of tonight's news from cartoonist Asanga Ladua Hetty. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Sharon Silva. Take care and good night.